We're continuing our conversation about the camp where kids played slaves and master. The school compiled a report, actually, and talked to all those kids. And here's what some of them said about this experience. Appreciation for what we have today. Should not take freedom for granted. Exciting learning experience. But others said, well, started to believe some of the things the group leaders were saying and did not know if the leaders were joking. So, Jason, what's your take on this? Is this a good thing?
I think this is a great thing. And I can speak as someone, I've actually gone on one of these slave experience camps. There's a lot of Underground Railroad trips in the state parks in Ohio. People cry, they're disturbed, they're upset by it, but you don't learn anything if you don't experience difficulty.
How old were you when you went through this?
Now, I went through this with some high school students and some college students.
How old were you?
Oh, I was my age now. But what I'm saying is this.
These are seventh graders. These are seventh graders.
I don't have a problem. One of the biggest problems that we have in this country, and this is my soapbox, is our inability to recognize our past. People like to pretend that these things didn't happen. I don't care if you're talking about the Holocaust. I don't care if you're talking about the killing of American Indians, and I don't care if you're talking about slavery. It is never too young to teach children what our history is, because that's how they'll appreciate where we are now. Now, the language can be changed, but exposing a bunch of 6th and 7th graders to real history, I don't have a problem with that, and I never have.
So in a weird way, could this have an opposite effect? And black kids go, oh, man, I didn't realize that. You know what? I hate you because you're white.
Right. It could.
I'm just throwing it out there.
I mean, you know, that could have existed beforehand, to be perfectly honest with you, depending on the circumstances. But I think the empathy, to be perfectly honest, the empathy that the white students get, we're like, oh, yeah, we thought slavery and that civil rights stuff, that was, this was terrible.
Yeah.
And I think it's actually a bonding thing.
I remember one white kid came forward and said, I thought MLK took care of all that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's great for learning.
Go ahead, Midwin.
No, I was just going to say, you know what, I agree with you in saying that, you know, we have a problem with recognizing things that happened in the past and that are very difficult for us to deal with. But some things just don't need to be reenacted. I am sorry. Human beings owning other human beings is something that this country, unfortunately, is a mark that we're going to have to bear for a long time. But this isn't the way to do it. There are many ways to teach children about slavery, what slavery was about, and what are now the ramifications of slavery that we are still now dealing with. But this just isn't the way to do it, particularly with 7th graders who are young, who are impressionable. And listen to some of those comments. Some of those kids said, listen, I started to believe those leaders. That in and of itself tells me that this is a problem.
It is a problem.
Got to be having the conversation at home. Got to have a proper debrief.
Exactly.
Got to keep that blunt, you know,
From a mental health perspective, though, Kira, what bothers me about this is they didn't get the parental consent beforehand, and you don't know if any of these kids have been traumatized physically or emotionally at home or in their history, and this type of activity could re-traumatize them. And so that's why I say no way.
John, I'm just curious while we have you. Are you going to change the program at all, or is it going to stay the same?
We've already gone through a revision of the program. We have changed it because when we were alerted to this as an issue in August, we went through a review internally. We've shortened the experience. We have reasserted that it is a decision. I'm not blaming anyone else, but I am reasserting the fact that you've got to make a decision as a school if this is what meets with your curricula and grade level appropriate.
John.
The previous speaker, I agree with entirely, and the risk element of doing that or the rehashing of a real live event. How many times do you want to have that rehashed in your life? But I don't think we should just leave it at that point, because these are interactions among people as of today. And John, I think that's a key element.
Appreciate you calling in, John. And just to get fair word in here, Hartford schools are not commenting on this. We gave a call. Also, the head of the African American Affairs Commission in Connecticut says slave reenactments have no place in education. Jason, you'll probably be on the phone with them today. And John Santos also tells us that after 40 years and 1 million campers that went through this program, this is the first time a parent, has filed a formal complaint. All right, she's